Strong's World Video Game Hall of Fame has some of the most iconic games in the world among its ranks. From Street Fighter II to Minecraft, many influential games reside in the Hall. Many of these games have spawned sequels or spin-offs that have spanned decades. Hell, Street Fighter II had 8 different variations like Turbo and Rainbow, and helped to keep Street Fighter in the mainstream for years, with the 6th main installment coming out next month. The demo for Street Fighter 6 has had most of my time wrapped up. I've been procrastinating this project really bad. This is why I believe that From Software's 2011 hit Dark Souls should be inducted into the Strong's World Video Game Hall of Fame. Released in 2011 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, met with great reception from critics and gamers alike for its challenging but rewarding gameplay and its masterclass in world building, story, and level design. Except Blighttown. Fuck Blighttown. From Software followed the game up with 2 direct sequels, being Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Then they made other similar games like Sekiro and Bloodborne, which have been dubbed the Soulsborne series by longtime fans. Even their most recent release, Elden Ring, has done incredibly well with both critics and casual players, showing that their main design philosophy holds up in a modern video game era. Dark Souls has also spawned some of the most iconic phrases in the gaming world, such as "get good" and "parry this, you fucking casual." Even people who have never played the Soul series can recognize the iconic bonfire as it makes appearances in other games as an Easter egg, or the image of this lovely man named Solaire and his way of selling sun and sunlight accessories, or the Onion Knight Siegmeyer who sleeps outside a ruined dungeon. And then you have Andre the Blacksmith, who appeared in both Dark Souls 1 and 3 and is the center of one of the most iconic Dark Souls games.
This is a Super Saiyan. And this is what is known as a Super Saiyan that has ascended past a Super Saiyan. And this is to go even further beyond.
Along with its iconic characters, the game has incredible world building. Every piece of dialogue or item description that you can read gives more to the lore of the game and the overall story. The opening cinematic sets the stage, and it's up to the player to decipher the story from there.
Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten.
A lot of the game's story is told through the areas you go through as well. Anor Londo is a fallen kingdom basked in artificial sunlight created by Gwyn to make it seem as though the Age of Fire is not ending. Ash Lake, an underground lake with massive trees and a hydra. Blighttown, a disgusting sewer city where everything is poison, everything's trying to kill you, and everything is on fire.
Fuck Blighttown!
Excuse me. Along with the area design, we can see it in the enemy design. Each area has unique enemies that complement the story being told through their visuals and design. The knights in Anor Londo who continue to protect and serve despite all of the rulers of Anor Londo being long gone. All of the people in the Undead Burg who have shown how the curse of hollowing has spread. On top of the areas and enemies, the NPCs that you can interact with throughout the game give you information regarding the story through their various dialogues. Crestfallen Warrior, which is his canonical name, I looked it up, and Oscar both talk about hollowing and the goals of all hollows. Oscar was still trying to complete his mission, while the Crestfallen Warrior abandoned his. Then you have this lovely backstabbing cue ball named Patches, who's appeared in the majority of all of the Souls series, including Demon Souls and most recently Elden Ring. The boss designs too have their own story. The Gaping Dragon was a dragon that was so hungry that its stomach opened up and became a giant mouth, or Gwyn, the first being to link the fire. Most of these stories are told through item descriptions from the boss weapons or boss armors. Though the game does have a lot of reused demon designs, but we don't really talk about that. On to the gameplay, and oh man, I just have to gush about how much I love this game. Every fight, every movement, every attack feels purposeful and rewarding, or devastating depending on the outcome. The game doesn't really have a hard-baked tutorial, like new players could easily just skip the notes to tell you how to play the game. Because of this, the game has quite a steep learning curve, and when you overcome that curve, it feels immensely satisfying. The Undead Asylum is the tutorial area for the game. It teaches players about exploration and combat, but it's fairly bare bones. Surprisingly, while recording this, I actually didn't realize that the second Asylum Demon was like right next to the starting area despite having played this game like 10 times. This game really rewards exploration and patience. Take the first boss for example. When you first approach it, you are by no means well enough equipped to defeat it, as you only have a broken sword. Unless you pick the black firebombs as your starting item, then However, with a bit of exploration around the asylum, you find your weapon, healing items, and a way to do free damage at the start of the fight. The level design of this game is also fantastic and rewards exploration, as there are numerous shortcuts that can be found throughout the game that all loop back around to previous areas and bonfires, creating a very interconnected feeling world. Like the citizens of the world could just walk from one place to another just by, walking. Game knowledge is also very important, finding items that give certain effects and allow for different damage types, such as magic, lightning, and fire. Every boss is weak to something, and it's typically a good idea to have that thing at the ready before you enter a fight. Again, the gameplay of Dark Souls is significantly slower than later games in the series. When compared to Bloodborne or Elden Ring, the game is played at a snail's pace. The game is also pretty clunky, however the clunkiness adds to the intensity and satisfaction of overcoming a challenge. The story of Dark Souls is also one of its major highlights. The whole game is essentially one masterclass of show, don't tell when it comes to the story. Just like my 5th grade English teacher would tell me. Aside from the opening cinematic, the majority of the game goes completely without cutscenes, aside from some minor ones like traveling to Anor Londo, or some boss fights have cutscenes at the beginning. The majority of the story is told through alternative means. Like I said earlier, mostly dialogue with NPCs or item and weapon descriptions. Also, it technically took 3 full games with DLC to tell the complete story of Dark Souls, but that's a different story. The game essentially boils down to, man doesn't like dragons. Oh, what's the shiny thing? I can throw lightning! Kill dragon. Oh no, darkness is scary, and my fire's about to go out. I like fire. I shall sacrifice myself to keep it going. And then you have the choice to either stomp on that fire and stomp on Gwyn, or return to the cycle and light yourself on fire to keep it going. Overall, the game gives plenty of clues to the players to figure out the story, while also giving plenty of room for theory crafting and allows the players to think about what might have happened to cause such a devastating apocalypse before reaching the ending. And even at the ending, it honestly doesn't make much sense. It's like a big time loop, light fire, die, light fire, die, so on and so forth. I believe that Dark Souls should be inducted into the Strong's World Video Game Hall of Fame for the fact that it is a masterclass in world building, storytelling, and despite, albeit clunky, great rewarding gameplay. Dark Souls is one of those games that I just, despite having played numerous times, will continue to play and have fun with. Because of this, I feel strongly that it should be included in the Strong's World Video Game Hall of Fame, along with Street Fighter II and Minecraft, as it has had a major cultural impact, and the overall game design philosophy continues to thrive in a modern era.